Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Gaura Hare Ram. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jai Vishnu Patna, Bhaktivedanta, Torah, Bhaktivedanta, Swami, Ananta Koti Vaishnavini, ISKCON Founder, Torah, Prabhupada, Premji Kosi Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Shai Mukunda Radha Krishna Giri Govinda, Sri Vrindavan Dham, Sri Navadvipa Dham, Gangamai Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to Yourself. All glories to Yourself. All glories to Yourself. All Major Command of Islam, she take time and one of these comes, but who knows what question I'm going to ask? Raise your hand. Yeah. Yes. What do you yes. Well, what do you remember from the last class? Okay, so no, that wasn't from the last class. No, that wasn't from the last class.
Garuda, he dropped some nectar on the kadamba tree.
Have you seen that kadamba tree?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. Who remembers something from yesterday evening class? Yeah, you raised them so quickly.
Explanation of the lotus feet of the Lord.
Yes. What do you remember about the lotus feet of the Lord?
The different symbols, 19 symbols.
Do you remember any of them?
Yes. Lotus, chakra, and O.
Yes. And they each...
Conscious.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone remember anything else from the class? Just wait. Yes.
Spoke about sincerity.
Sincerity. Could you ask the children who are right outside the door? We need a kid herdsman out there maybe. Yes. Can we remember something else?
The 3 ways Lord Balaram stopped the cowherd men from getting into the Yamuna.
Yes.
By his words, by his smile, and by physically he stopped them.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you remember what his reasoning was with his words?
With his words that, don't you remember Garag Muni's prediction that this boy is going to protect us, so why are you worried?
If he's going to protect us, huh?
How can you protect him if he's going to protect us? You go in the water and he'll come out and you'll be all dead when he comes back.
And then who will take care of him? It came back to that very sweet sentiment, that very sweet idea. Who will take care of Krishna? Who will take care of Krishna? Because remember, the Vrijvasis had so much love for Krishna. Kamasunda, whatever you did, it's like if you chase away the birds when there's food there. They come right back after. Okay. Chase the birds away. Okay, who remembers something else? Yes?
Maharaj, you mentioned that Krishna can give you 2 things which we can take it for granted. One is association of devotees and second is service.
Very important. Very important. Actually, in the first canto, in the 19th chapter, who knows what's happening in the 19th chapter of the first canto? Raise your hand if you know. Yes. Yes. Sukadeva Goswami appeared. But what else? Who else is there? Maharaj Parikshit is there. And Maharaj Parikshit is very close to the time of his death because he's been cursed. And who appears? Sukadeva Goswami comes. And Srila Prabhupada explains this is an indication of Krishna's mercy. When such a person, such an exalted person comes at such a difficult time, at the time we're leaving this world. Why is it difficult at the time we're leaving this world? Of course, we all know why. You don't know why. You're too little to know why. But why is it so difficult when it's time to die? Yes.
One is being taken away from everything one considers real.
I think I may be the only one distracted by the gurgling, cute little creature over there. How old is this one?
10 months.
Wow. Where was this one 2 years ago? What is it? What does this little sign say there?
I
woke up like this. Can I have one of those, please? That's actually, it's amazing how significant that is in relationship to what we're going to speak about right now. You would never have guessed that Krishna would arrange such a wonderful bib that is so relevant to what we're going to talk about. So, without further ado, we'll talk about what we're going to talk about. We'll speak about continuing the pastime. So what was the last thing that happened? The last thing that happened in the pastime? Yes, and then what happened right after that? What was Kaliya's realization after that?
That he was the Supreme Lord.
Yes, and then what did he do when he understood he was the Supreme Lord?
He didn't have power to speak to Lord Krishna.
And
So
but what
he
did
just surrendered to him in his mind.
Yeah.
And
What does it mean to surrender to? What does it mean to surrender? Because that word, what is the image you get when you think of the English word surrender? Huh?
Hands up.
Excuse me?
Hands up.
Hands up, and why are your hands up? Why are your hands up?
That you're the servant.
So you don't get shot.
Yes. Yes, I surrender. Anything else you want me to do? So the person, because that was sort of the way Kaliya was experiencing, but the word Sharanagati has a more subtle meaning, and that is a return to our actual position. A return to our actual position in relationship to Krishna. This is who we actually are. And in the material world, in this world, the world that we know, what we are is someone who's turned their back on Krishna and who is imagining himself, and we have this movie going on sort of inside our brain that we're the star of the show. And of course we can't convince anyone else that we're the star of the show, but we have that movie going on, and therefore it's so frustrating. They call this in the philosophical world, they call this the hard problem of consciousness. Where does this consciousness come from? First of all, where does consciousness come from? How does all the chemicals or whatever, according to the scientific point of view, that are interacting within the brain, how does it result in me experiencing me as I am? And each of us are individuals in that way. So And the central point, or the common point of everyone's individuality, is that everyone is in an illusion that we are central. And this is the result of turning away from Krishna. So surrender means returning to our actual position in relationship with Krishna. Because now, with our back turned to Krishna, not wishing to have a relationship with him because our natural relationship is one of serving, and we want to be central. And therefore the material world is there for us to play in. Play and imagine, practically speaking, that we're the star of the show. The star of the movie. So surrender means returning to our relationship with Krishna, returning to reality. That and it's very hard, difficult, maybe impossible for a soul who has a false ego to accept, but we're insignificant. And on another level, it's so obvious that we're insignificant. It's so obvious that we're insignificant because so many insignificant human beings have come and gone over the years and no one even remembers their name. Or if they do remember their name, that's all they remember. Just this person existed at a certain time in history and now they're gone. But where did they come from? And where did they go after they're gone? That is very mysterious, and that's just human beings. But how about all the other insignificant creatures, such as, not you, but bugs. Not you, but I was expecting you to immediately say bugs. They just come and they go, thousands are born and die before the sun rises. They're born when the sun sets, and they die before the sun rises. It's a complete holocaust in the material world, and yet every conditioned soul is thinking himself central. And sometimes I notice it especially in Vrindavan when the dogs, they roam on the streets here in Australia. I guess that people come out with nets and catch them, and if they're doing that, but you never see any dogs roaming around. But in Vrindavan, you always see dogs running around. And they're walking from place to place, from this place to that place, as if they have somewhere very important to go to. They're very determined, and they go from one place to the next with determined steps, and it really looks, and they're thinking, too, that it's very significant what I'm doing. Look at their paw watch, only because they don't have mobile phones. That's why they don't still have watches. But are we very different from that? And Prabhupada actually pointed that out in Melbourne. He said the dog is running on 4 legs, and you're running on 4 wheels. So what's the big difference, really, with the same purpose in mind? Of course, not the devotees, because they somehow connected their lives to service to Krishna, which actually has significance. Significance means, what's the difference between significant and insignificant? Raise your hand. What's it, in a practical sense, what is the difference between something that's significant and something that's insignificant? I'm looking for... Go ahead, be brave.
Significant is something of value.
Something of value, and insignificant is valueless. So what makes something valuable?
What's my benefit ultimately?
Ultimate, there's something eternal in there. In other words, we would naturally think it's significant if I became a billionaire. Naturally, we would think like that. Especially our temple president. If all the congregational members were billionaires, then And we could do so many wonderful things for Radha. But for ourselves, from the material level, if you become a billionaire for an eighth of a second, imagine, an eighth of a second, what is the actual significance of the wealth that you have gained? Nothing. Something that comes and it goes so quickly has no significance. So therefore, the Bhagavad Gita describes that what is asat, temporary, has no existence, practically speaking, like your $1 billion for an eighth of a second. And practically speaking, actually speaking, has no significance. So the very important things that we have to do on the material level, in that sense, they don't even have existence, what to speak of significance. In 10,000 years or 100,000 years or 200,000 years, what is the value of our having walked from one place to the other? But right now it seems so significant because our consciousness is tiny. But on the other hand, I heard Prabhupada recently told a story of a sannyasi who went begging, not that he was in great need, but to give the householder an opportunity to offer some service and for him to speak some transcendental knowledge. So he knocked on the door of someone who was quite miserly, and he said, "Please, could you give me something?" And the miserly householder consulted with his partner, and they said, "Give him some ashes." And the sannyasi Prabhupada explained, said, "All right, all right, I'll accept this. Let your spiritual life begin, at least." Giving something. Now, even though it's the most insignificant thing, like ashes that have, practically speaking, no value, but it had eternal significance, while becoming a billionaire for an eighth of a second has no true significance. At least it's begun the march back to Krishna. So understanding significant and insignificant, Kaliya understood that all his attempts previously to feel himself powerful, to feel himself strong and protected, they were all insignificant. They were all useless. And then he returned to his natural position. He surrendered, he returned to his natural position, which means, again, in relationship to the Supreme Lord, because we have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. This is called Param Satyam. Param Satyam Dhimi. The whole Bhagavatam is a meditation on the absolute truth, which means that truth that is so grand, so great, it includes everything. There is nothing outside of it. It is absolute, it is complete. There is nothing external or outside of it. Him. So we have a relationship, as everyone else has a relationship, and everything else, everything in existence, Mama Amso Tejo Sambhava, rests upon Krishna, has a relationship with Krishna, comes from him, is his energy, and is meant to serve Krishna. So that was Kaliya's realization, and it was forced upon him by the dashing, the blows of Krishna's heels as he kicked him again and again and again and yet again. So, and that seems to be our situation, or at least I won't say our, because that's everyone else, but when we understand we have no other choice, then we take that route. Yes, Krishna, I am yours. So when Krishna makes it really clear to us, when Krishna makes it really clear to us that this is the best option in life, in existence. This is the option that has true meaning. Mataji, keep the door open. Rishiji. Yeah, keep the door open. So, at that point, at that exact point, when Kaliya mentally, Sharanam, when he surrendered unto Krishna, I am yours, I'm giving up this attempt. And this is a wonderful aspect of Krishna. The verse, Tavasmi Chayachite Sarvada, what's spoken by Lord Ram? Sarvada. Abhayam Sarvadam Tasmai Dadam Yitad Vratam Mama. That if someone, Lord Ramachandra said, if someone, and consider this is the nature of Krishna. If someone one time says to me, Tavasmi, I am yours, one time, ekada, one time if he says that, from that time on, Krishna is basically saying, I consider that person mine. If one time a soul sincerely gives himself to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that Supreme Lord says, okay, he is mine, now it's time to come home. And I award that person fearlessness. You don't have to be afraid, not that one can take advantage of Krishna's kindness. But I award that person fearlessness, that Vratam Mama, what does that mean?
I think he knows.
You're a good manager. You delegate very well. Why don't you know? You should learn these things. Okay?
He must know.
Yes, he knows, but you don't know. So you should learn, but now you know. Right? What does it mean? Vratam Mama, this is my vow. What does Vratam Mama mean?
It's my vow.
Yes, so next time we ask you that question, you can raise your hand and get the right answer. What does Vratam Mama mean?
I give you my vow.
Yes, this is my firm vow. So, Kaliya's wives noted this change in Kaliya. These are the Nagapati. They noticed that as soon as he surrendered, there was an experience, he was experiencing ecstasy, and those symptoms of ecstasy were visible on his body, in his person. He was humble, he felt sheltered even. He came there, Kaliya had come there seeking shelter from Garuda, and now he actually found that shelter in the lotus feet, on the lotus feet of Krishna, being kicked by those lotus feet. So when the wives of Kaliya, the Nagapatnis, saw that he had actually surrendered to Krishna, their mood towards him had changed, because previously they would not allow him, he would not allow them to serve Krishna, to go to Krishna, to see Krishna. So they were thinking, now he's getting what he deserves. Let him be finished, and then we can serve Krishna. But as soon as they saw that he was a devotee now, that he had surrendered, their mood shifted, their mood changed. And they wanted to save him. So they approached Krishna in distress, in disarray, because they were worried that their devotee husband was in so much difficulty, being pounded by the heels of Krishna. And to evoke Krishna's compassion, they had their babies with them, because everyone's compassionate when they. Why does one become compassionate when one sees a baby? Raise your hand. You're intimidating everyone. When you raise your hand, no one else in the whole room will raise their hand. Put your hand down for a moment. Yes.
They are helpless.
Because they're helpless. So that immediately softens all but the most hard-hearted. And similarly, that is what Sharanagati is about. It is about becoming helpless, putting oneself under the protection of Krishna, of the Supreme Lord. Now, unless one has deep faith in Krishna, it's a very frightening thought. Because if I put myself under Krishna's care, all my experiences in this world about putting myself under the care of another, and this is one reason, by the way, why it's so important that the children are taken care of, very well, because then they feel secure. It's like providing the software in their consciousness so that they will trust authority. Very important. This is a subtle point, a psychological point. Why society is so important? Because it provides the leaders of society, the parents, the teachers, the priests, and the government leaders. When they are strong and good and take care of the people, then naturally the citizens trust authority. When you trust authority, then it's so much easier, if that's your natural inclination, to trust the supreme authority, Krishna. But if the parents are fighting and divorced and leave the child, and the politicians, the kings and the leaders, they're thought of as corrupt, and the priests turn out to be child abusers, and the teachers are this, and it's so difficult for the people of Kaliya to trust in authority. And even though it's, like everyone in every country criticizes the politicians, and everyone will say that the politicians are corrupt. And actually, it's such a bad thing not to acknowledge when something is wrong. But it's such a bad thing for the mentality of the people, because when they can't trust the authority, these basic authorities, then it's so much more difficult to trust that supreme authority, Krishna. And instead, not trusting the powers that be, the authorities, who do you end up trusting? Only one person. Who is that? Yourself. And who has proved to you time and time again the most untrustworthy person? So one really gets caught in this way. This is Kali Yuga. This is really Kali Yuga. People only trust themselves. They trust, which means basically they trust their minds, which flicker here and there and this way and that way, and get it. So it's a very sad situation in Kali Yuga, and therefore Mahaprabhu Kirtanareva Krishna Mukti Sangha Paramvadev. Mahaprabhu emphasized this from the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, the 3rd chapter. This is the process. By focusing our consciousness on Krishna, but very intensely and very seriously, then all the faults of Kali Yuga can become removed. Otherwise, it's very, very, very difficult to return to our actual natural position of surrender to Krishna, of placing ourselves in relationship with Krishna, in his protection, in his service. So when the Nagapatnis saw that Kaliya had surrendered, then they approached Krishna. And at this time, Krishna was still dancing upon the heads of Kaliya. And they began to offer prayers to him. Now, does anyone know how many prayers did they offer? Let's see if the words "I don't know" can come out of your mouth. Yes, he must know. 3 words, but the wrong 3 words.
He would know.
Do you know?
Maybe.
Okay. So there are 21 prayers, and I know because I counted them to make sure before I came. And these prayers, I'm not going to read them one by one, but because I've written summaries of them, because if I read them one by one, then it may be too much for the attending audience at this time. But I'll summarize them, and you'll be able to hear the flow of what they're asking. There's 3 parts of these prayers. The first part, because Krishna is still angry at Kaliya for poisoning the water of the Yamuna. So when someone is very, very angry and has done this, and is chastising Kaliya, and you want to cool down his anger, the last thing you want to do is tell him stop being angry. Because it doesn't work at all. Because he had good reason to be angry. Look what Kaliya had done. The cowherd boys, the cows, which were as dear to Krishna as his own life, had been poisoned and killed. The Yamuna River had been so polluted and contaminated. So the Nagapatnis in the first verse, in the first set of prayers, the first part of these, how many prayers? 21. Oh, yes, you're here too. Okay. We have an alternative. How many prayers were there? Very good. Be quiet. So the first section of these prayers, the Nagapatnis are going to say, your anger is completely appropriate. Completely appropriate. Look what he's done. It's so appropriate. And they wonder, as we shall hear, not only is it appropriate, but how has this good fortune fallen upon this rascal Kaliya? Not only is it appropriate, but it's more than appropriate. It's your kindness, it's your mercy that you have trampled him in this way and touched him with your lotus feet. Very good, you're just so kind in chastising him. Your anger is perfect and an aspect of your mercy. And then the second part, they explain Krishna's glorious powers. And the way they explain it is very, very clever. He has so many contradictory potencies. And when we hear them one by one, we'll hear what they're saying. And then finally, in the third section of prayers, they say that you have contradictory powers. You have achintya shakti. Inconceivably, you have these powers that seem to contradict each other, like it can't be raining and non-raining at the same time. But Krishna has the power to all the contradictory things that go on in the world, and that they all come from him. even though they appear superficially to oppose one another. So therefore, they say, and this is their conclusion at the end, therefore, he deserves completely to be punished, but you should forgive him. Contradictory, but this, you have so many contradictory qualities anyway. You please forgive him. But ultimately they say, whatever you want to do, we will follow. Now I've seen that when this pastime is going on, who do we tend to identify with? Ourselves. Do we think of ourselves as Krishna dancing upon the heads of Kaliya, or do we think of ourselves as the cows or the cowherd boys or the Brijvasis, the other Brijvasis who are feeling so much agony to see Krishna in a difficult situation, or do we feel ourselves more identifying with that snake with his many heads trying to... So when we hear these prayers, if some of us happen to think we're more like Kaliya than the who has so many tendencies and heads that that have an aversion to Krishna, some enmity with Krishna, then we can hear these prayers as being made on our behalf too. And this is how we can pray, even if we find our heads are being trampled to some degree. In Krishna's, or pinch, if we find ourselves, there's this English saying, you're in a pinch. Or there's another one, between a rock and a hard place. Did you ever hear that one? Did you ever hear that one? It means you're stuck, you're being pinched, you have no way out. So this is what happens in the material world so often. Because we're thinking of ourselves very powerful, very resourceful, and then Krishna puts us in a position, or the material nature puts us in a position where we can't move left and we can't move right, and our great powers mean nothing. Our influence means nothing, and really the time of death is going to be like that for everyone. Use all the tricks of life that you've used to get you through life. But to no avail. You can see it, you can see I'm going down, and it becomes, I would say, what's one level of fear above frightening? What's an increase in fear of frightening? Huh?
Terrifying.
Terrifying, yeah. Like that's at the very top. It becomes terrifying. And that, unless we have our shelter firm, that is the most confronting time. Because I was speaking to a nurse, I can't remember where it was, but she was saying that when the people come to the hospital, they expect that they're going to be cured, that you're going to cure them. And she was saying to explain to them that we don't have the power to cure you. It's something that's so difficult. We try this, we try that, but ultimately we don't have the power. There's no guarantee attached to this. And people don't want to hear that. They simply don't want to hear it. So she was explaining, this is one of the most difficult things, trying to explain to people that the illusion that we have, people much prefer to take shelter of illusion. It's much more comforting than sometimes the stark reality because then what do you hold on to? The illusion has cracked. The illusion that we hold on to. This is a real fire and brimstone Sunday morning class, sorry. The illusion that we hold on to is illusion. What's the illusion? Basically, it's that tomorrow's just going to be like today was. Everything was okay today, and tomorrow's going to be the same. And then the next day is going to be the same. There's a famous quotation of Steve Jobs who said, if you live every, because there's a new agey type of saying that you should live every day as if it's your last. So he said, if you live every day as if it's going to be your last day, one day you're going to be correct. Funny, huh? So seeing life in this perspective, learning the art of holding on tightly to Krishna, that is what life's about. And interestingly enough, one of the Acharyas comments that Krishna kept on dancing on Kaliya's heads to deepen his surrender. To deepen his surrender. To the very core of his existence. Holding on to Krishna, his lotus feet, as his only shelter. So the Nagapatnis began to pray. Now, do you remember raise your hand if you think you could, if I asked you the three parts of the prayers, raise your hand if you think you could answer and say what those three were. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm such a bad teacher. 5. I'm going to have to say it again. First, this is wonderful what you've done. He certainly deserved this punishment. Remember, he was almost dead. But we can't understand why you've bestowed so much kindness upon him in touching him with your lotus feet. Second, you have inconceivable, contradictory potencies. And third, please forgive him. Because even though he deserves it, they were expecting, we are your devotees. We should protect him. He's our husband. So please forgive him. Got it? Mitesh, got it? If I ask you, you'd be able to say all three? Huh? Okay, good. Raise your hand if you'd be able to say all three parts right now. I won't ask you, don't worry. You can bluff, it's all right. Okay. Now we're going to take off our glasses, pull out the microphone. Now, the first part is what? Raise your hand. First part is what? Yes. Correct. Okay. That was a little hard for me to understand, I'll admit it, but I'm assuming that you have it correct. That you're very fortunate. You have been so kind to Kaliya. He said, your punishment of Kaliya, this is the 33rd verse, is just. It is correct. It was appropriate since he's done what he has done. And it is for his benefit. Second verse in this section 34. Your anger towards Kaliya, our husband, is actually mercy. Why? Because it has driven away his sinful contaminations and therefore caused him to surrender to you. And we can't understand what he has done that caused you to be so pleased with him and so satisfied with him. we can't understand what it is that he's done that has caused you to give him so much mercy, to purify him, but not only that, to touch his head with your lotus feet. How has Kaliya gained this fortune that even the goddess of fortune herself was unable to attain? So this is one verse that we want to see. That's Kasyano Bhalosyana Devo Vidmahi. This is a very important verse. I believe it's the first one in this one. And then the final verse, also a very, very interesting verse in this section, or the next to final verse. Those who have attained your fortune, that fortune of the blessings of Krishna, the touch of his lotus feet upon their heads, they have no further material desires. They need nothing else. And not only that, all souls, regardless of their conditioning, regardless of their desires, they may have all their desires fulfilled by the dust of your lotus feet. The dust of your feet is so glorious. It doesn't seem to be anything on the screen. Either that or it's my imagination. Is it there or not? Abhyayaka, I know. Is it really coming or is it? Okay. So, the second section of the verses. So how, this is such an important question. How can one gain the actual trust in the potency of taking shelter of Krishna, even when that taking shelter of Krishna, that mercy comes to us in a way that we would prefer something, a different way. We prefer it coming in the form of a flower garland, as opposed to the striking of Krishna's lotus feet upon our head. But this is how a pure soul can actually see. And this question is brought out in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, and in the 23rd chapter of the 11th canto, where it describes the Avanti Brahmana, when Uddhava asked Krishna, is it actually possible for someone to see everything as Krishna's mercy? The bad, the terrible, the awful, a dealing even amongst dearmost friends that gives us pain and difficulty, or we lose everything. This Avanti Brahmana story is so incredible that he had made such a deep determination to take shelter of Krishna, regardless of what the circumstances were. One has to be so deep to be like this. So deep to see Krishna's, the dashing of Krishna's feet in every circumstance. Easy to talk about, very, very difficult to do. But life is meant for this ever deepening taking shelter of Krishna. So I don't have the thing, maybe you do. But in any case, why don't you just go to the next one? Kasyano bhavasya nadevo vidmahi. That we cannot understand, the Nagapatis say. We cannot understand where this result has come from. He's a snake after all. What could he have done We only saw him do terrible things. So what could possibly he have done to gain this good fortune of you blessing him with your lotus feet? So this was the mood they had heard. Tavang ridenu, the dust of your lotus feet. Sparashadikara. What was his adhikara? What was his qualification for gaining this? Getting the tough sparas. One, Yadvanchiyat Sri, that Sri herself, the best of woman, performed tapo, austerity, desiring this very thing to gain the dust of your lotus feet. And in Vrindavan there's one forest called Bilvavan or Lakshmivan. Raise your hand if you've been there. Just on the other side of the Yamuna from Keshiga. The Yamuna goes in this shape, but yeah. Okay, I'll do it so it's correct on your side. It's like an S in that area. And right over there is Lakshmi Van. When Lakshmi Devi herself performed austerities to want to enter into a relationship with Krishna like the gopis have. And she's still performing austerities to get the dust, to be able to serve the dust of Krishna's lotus feet in that way. She's still performing austerities after thousands of years. And she did it for Hare Kamam with this desire, Sucharam, Dritavrata, for a long time with Dritavrata. What does Dritavrata mean? Determined vow, complete determination. And she's still performing austerities there because she hasn't gotten it, because she had some attachment to being the position of Lord Narayan's consort. And she couldn't gain it. And yet, this hideous, terrible serpent has gained it. This is amazing to us. So that was the first section. And then, in the second section, who remembers what the second section is about? Raise your hand. Nityananda Prabhu. Yeah, conflicting or contradictory powers. So there's some examples. When you, and this, when we think of Krishna, we don't, it's quite amazing when you think, you go outside and you just see the trees, you see the grass. What else do you see outside? The dogs. What else do you see outside? Huh? The what? Yes, playing kids. And what else? What else? What else do you see outside?
People.
People, yes. What else do you see outside? Yes. The sky. And when you look at the sky, you see the clouds. And then sometimes in the daytime, you can see the moon. And then at night, you can see so many stars stretching into outer space. And there's so many things. And Krishna, the absolute truth, the Ishvara, Paramishvara, they all come from him. And when Brahma got a glimpse of this, of Krishna's power, he was shocked, fell down on the ground in the dust of Vrindavan and fainted. So Krishna is the cause of that. But yet, he doesn't have anything to do with it. He causes it, but is aloof, completely aloof. He's transcendental, beyond all this matter. And then also, Krishna is the cause not only of this gross material universe, but also the subtle, the things we can't see so easily, the potencies that move everything around, the potencies that make the sun rise, even our own minds that we can't see, and other people's minds. Krishna is the cause of the subtle as well, the subtle parts of existence. What is the force of time that makes everything transform and change continuously? It's unstoppable. It's unstoppable. That's Krishna's Shakti working. Kalosmin Lokachaya Krit. You are time's cause as well. You cause this potency of time. And you are the cause of illusion. The mystifying spell of Maya, that in 1 second yes, Krishna, I am yours, and the next second that thought is gone and we're just thinking about how to enjoy ourselves. This is what to speak of the materialists who have no concept. No concept. Going into a shopping mall, which I rarely do, but I had to get something a few days ago. It just struck me how everyone was wandering along with the shops and looking at this and spinning. What are those things called? The new fad? What are they called? A fidget spinner. They were spinning their fidget spinners and just creating unlimited ways to waste time, basically. But I didn't laugh when I saw it at that particular time. I became quite frightened by it. Being somewhat prone to fidget spinners in all its forms. But just wasting times and imperceptibly growing older while this was all going on. And somehow it really struck me as very, very heavy that life was just ticking away for them all. They were aging from the youngest to the oldest, and you see the old people doing this as well. And it struck me as very sad. And you know, and if we want, if someone had a compassionate spirit, one would want to help and explain that no, life has actual purpose to it. But this is Maya, this is illusion, because everyone knows that their time here is limited. But everyone is living as if they were going to be here forever and that tomorrow is going to, by definition, be exactly like today. So this illusion and improper understanding, because Krishna is Janmad Yasyataha, everything comes from him, so this is also coming from him, they say. Kaliya's illusion, they're saying, also came from you. You are the source of illusion and improper understanding. And also, through religious scriptures, they all come from you, and they say different things. Some say, we'll teach you how to enjoy the world. Some will say how to renounce the world. All this is coming from you. Contradictory things. And you, this little cowherd boy who is 6 years old, is the source of all the different forms of the Lord. It's you. And then they say, you both reveal yourself, you show yourself, and you hide yourself from both devotees and non-devotees. You reveal yourself to devotees, like you showed Arjuna your position. You hide yourself from devotees. You show Mother Yashoda the universe within you. But immediately you hide yourself and they don't see who you are actually, and they just see you as a cowherd boy. And to non-devotees, you also hide yourself. The devotees see the world, they see the universe, they see the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, the breathing, the circulation of the blood, and they see Krishna. And non-devotees, they see particles just bouncing into each other, causing these things by random actions and multiverses and chance. Just this concept of multiverse is so interesting. Have you ever come across that? Raise your hand if you know about multiverses.
I've heard of it.
Because a universe means one, and a multiverse means there's so many universes. So the scientists have come up with a problem that, of course, we agree with that there's multiverses, but we have a completely different concept of multiverses as them. That means, practically speaking, an infinite number of universes. They've come up with a problem, is that it's statistically impossible that such a complicated life forms that we have in this world could have happened just by survival of the fittest and random actions and chance. It's statistically impossible that it happened. So there, and here, yet it's undeniable. Here we are. At least, I think here we are. So the way they get out of this is saying there's countless other universes where it doesn't happen, and this we happen to be in the one where it did happen. But they, of course, where did all those countless universes come from? You end up with this same type of a problem. But, and we also agree there are more universes than this one, there's multiverses, but our idea is that each one is organized. Each one has a Brahma. Each one has life. Each one has so much complexity. So there's a big difference. But yet, they consciously make up theories, consciously, willingly, desiringly make up theories, any theory, wild as it may be, to show that there is no God. For that reason only they make up theories. And they just speculate. Just speculate. You conceive of how could it possibly be a theory where there's no God? So the source of that ability, the Nagapatis say, and the source of that vision, it also comes from Krishna. And they say also that you manifest all in existence through which you can both be perceived and ignored. Both come from your energy. That someone, Premanjana Truit, they see Krishna everywhere, and some people see Krishna nowhere. And then you are the abode. All contradictory qualities rest in you. So in the third part, they say that you have created this universe. You've created time. It's all coming from you. You've created the qualities of all living entities. It's all coming from you. You've even created the quality of enviousness in this serpent. So therefore, and you've created karma. So it's natural that he's getting these results. But all these living entities, they're all dependent upon you. They're all your creatures. And you have descended to protect and maintain them. And yet you have been so merciful to this one Kaliya. And please, since all his bad qualities come from you anyway, please, please, just this one time, please forgive him. Please show mercy to Kaliya. And not only if you're merciful to Kaliya and don't kill him, you're also being merciful to us, who are your devotees, because without him we have no protector. So please, they end up by saying, but please, since he deserves to be punished, but yet we beg you to forgive him this one time. So now we are leaving it to you, and you can do as you like, and whatever your desire is, we will follow that and accept it as your mercy. Business, surrender. Tell us, what should we do now? And they say, anyone who faithfully executes your order because they know it's coming from you and they know that every order you give is for their benefit, they are immediately free from fear. So after reciting these prayers, Krishna accepted them and he jumped off the heads of Kaliya. And Kaliya was almost dead at this time. But he had surrendered to Krishna. So he began to say something to Krishna, but he was so weak and his mind had been so battered that all he could do, basically, he could speak, but all he could do was basically repeat the same concepts, the same idea that his wives had said. So, but he was even a little bit more graphic. And go to the, you can skip the English there. Use the 3 parts, everything is your creation. Whoops. Go ahead. Please be merciful to him. Yeah. So this is one of the prayers offered by the snake. Vayam Chatatra Bhagavan. Oh Lord, we, Vayam means we, oh Lord, we Sarpa Jati. What does Sarpa Jati mean? We're born in a snake family, Urumanyava. And by nature, because we're born in this particular family, we naturally have all the characteristics of that family. And therefore, we are very, very, in the snake family, it's one thing, but in all our different families, we have the blessings and curses of those families too. The nature is born of that family. Sarpa Jati Urumanyava. Urumanyava means very, very angry. Snakes, very, very angry. Katam Chajamas Tammayam. How? This is created by your Maya, which is so powerful. How is it possible? How is it possible for me to give it up? This nature, this angry, nasty nature that tends to bite people without cause. Unless you are merciful to me, you who are the controller of all those things, they all come from you. Unless you are merciful to me, what hope do I have? So this was the essence of Kaliya's prayers. And for a humble soul, this is the prayer of a soul who's already been kicked by life, you could say, or could say, oh, this is what it took for Krishna to teach me. You see Krishna's lotus footprints upon our head in that way. And this was Kaliya's prayer. It's a very nice prayer. Do you know it by heart? No.
I think he does.
Do you know it by heart? You were wrong again. But it's such a nice verse. Raise your hand if you know this one. Raise your hand if you consider thinking about possibly learning it. It's a good one. Vayam Chatatra Bhagavan Sarpa Jati Romanyava Katam Chajamas Tanmayam Disyutam Mohitam Swaya. How can I give up these tendencies? But you're the creator of all this. If you pull them away, if I become your personal project, then I have a hope. And again, what the Nagapatis were praying, he had no other qualification. So the answer was, or the question was, what did he do to cause Krishna to be so merciful to him? And the answer our acharyas give, he didn't do anything. It was just Krishna's causeless mercy. One could say that he was in the Yamuna river, and that is so purifying. But look what he did to the Yamuna. He just aparaded, he just insulted the Yamuna, he poisoned the Yamuna, so that was taken away as the cause of Krishna's mercy to him. It's just that Krishna was causelessly merciful. So this is the mood in which a devotee.
Did it have something to do with the association of his devotee life?
One could say that, but that's not the mood that's being... But he rejected that. Where are you? Oh, speaker of the question. Okay. One could say that, but he had rejected that completely. Completely rejected that, so it wasn't effective. Just causeless mercy, that's the conclusion of the acharyas. Causeless mercy means there's no cause to it. Just Krishna was kind. So that is the mood that we approach, that helpless mood, unless you're merciful to me. This is the mood of the songs of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Srila Narottama Das Thakur. This is the mood of the Brijbasis that we hear about when Krishna lifted the hill. Govardhan Hill, we'll hear this evening. They just didn't have anywhere else to turn other than to Krishna. And our tendencies is if we happen to walk out of the house without our mobile phones, we feel, I'm in a dangerous position. What happens if something happens? But Krishna is so kind is that we can't walk out of the house without him. He stays with us. You were, Dr. why were you saying something about that? You had some thought about that recently? About Krishna in the heart. That he stays with us, or with something. Anyway.
And he's very friendly. Prabhupada keeps saying that he's very friendly. That he goes with us, and when we have to leave one birth to go to another body, he's like a bird that flies from one tree to another tree. And he arranges everything, and he just watches and waits until we're prepared to turn to him. He just waits. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
It's good enough. I think so. But did you want to make a comment?
I wanted to ask a question, actually.
Okay, because I want to just finish this, what happens next, because I know everyone is, if they had seats, they would be on the edge of their seats. Thinking what's going to happen next. They said, whatever you want, I'm going to do. Now what is Krishna going to tell them? And it's actually going to be, from our point of view, very, very heavy, what he tells them. But he had to do it, but it also has a balance to it. Would you like to know what he tells them? Yes. He tells Kaliya that you have to leave Vrindavan. You have to go from here. And he said there's a much nicer place you can go. There's Ramanaka Island. It's much bigger than here. This is just a small lake where you've been forced to live. You have to go. You take your wives, you take your family, you take your children with you, and go. And they had already agreed to do whatever he said. And they first worshipped Krishna. They covered him with jewels and silken cloths, gold, And he explained why too. He said, because people come to this place and they want to bathe in the Yamuna, and they can't bathe with this huge serpent there all the time. So you have to leave. And they left. And then immediately, at different times it says different things, but immediately the Yamuna became crystal clear again. But also some of the Puranas say that, and in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam describes, Sanatana Goswami describes how when Krishna, Kaliya says before he leaves, if sometime, any time, you need to do anything, you need to go anywhere, and Garuda is not available, you just immediately think of me and I'll be there. And you can ride on me. So sometimes the Puranas describe that when Krishna has to go to Mathura to kill Kamsa, he thinks of Kaliya. And he rides on Kaliya to Mathura. So this is balance in there of Krishna's sending him away but bringing him back as well. So it's so everything must end sweetly too. So then Krishna was covered with jewels because he didn't wear very many ornaments on that day. He was covered with jewels and silken cloths, and he came out of the water. And the Brijvasis, remember them, because he can tell a story from so many different points of view. There's a story from Kaliya's point of view. There's a story from the wives' point of view, what they experienced. There's a story, the same story from Kamsa's point of view, from the same story from the residents of Vrindavan's point of view, and the same story from Krishna's point of view. What was he thinking while all this was going on? He was thinking on so many different levels, and one of the levels was simply that he wanted to dance. And he did do that. He wanted to show off his expertise in dancing, jumping from one platform to the next of Kaliya's heads. So from the Brijvasi's point of view, just imagine what it was like. Of course we can't imagine what it was like really, but try to conceive of what it was like for them. They came seeing omens, expecting the words, and they saw Krishna caught within the coils of Kaliya, not moving, adrista chesta. They could not see him moving. They did not know whether he was dead or alive. And he was everything for them. They felt like they didn't have life left in their own bodies, practically speaking. And even if they did, nothing was worthwhile at all. Sunyayate jagat sarvam govinda virahena. They use the word sunya. And they were completely attached to him. And suddenly, when Krishna saw that they were suffering just because of him, he expanded and forced Kaliya to let him free. And the Brijvasis are watching this. And then they saw him dancing on the heads of Kaliya in such a graceful way, and at the same time pounding him, chastising him, punishing him, bringing him to his senses. And they're watching Krishna dancing gracefully from one head to the next, and every time Kaliya would raise a head, which would be frightening, Krishna would jump on it and dash it with zero. Bam, da 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 da, bam da da. I don't know how they make those sounds at all. Impossible. Can you do that? Do you know any of those drum mantras? Because the drum people can do it too, sometimes. And then, Kaliya was almost dead, and they saw the Nagapatnis come out, and there was an island, and they saw them bow down to Krishna, and offer some prayers. And the Brajbasis are watching all this. And then they saw them cover Krishna with gold and jewels and silks. And then Krishna walked across without his clothes getting wet, because Kaliya had sent Acharyas, they had sent serpents for him to step upon. And it looked like he was walking on the water. And then he was coming towards the Brajbasis who were on the shore, and they were coming back to life, that Krishna was coming. And they were coming out of their fainting, practically speaking, and then Krishna was getting closer and closer, and he jumped ashore, and immediately the cowherd boys ran over to him. And immediately, oh, Krishna embraced him one by one by one. They embraced him. And the cows immediately came over. And they were looking at Krishna with tear-filled eyes. And they became, and Krishna's fragrance is such that immediately they were attracted to Krishna's fragrance, and they would come over and look at him and lick him. And then Yashoda Maya came running over with Rohini and Nanda Maharaj. It describes how Nanda Maharaj, the Acharyas described, there were so many Matajis there, crowding around in the front. He had a very hard time getting through to get to Krishna. But Yashoda Maya, she didn't have any trouble. She just went over. And Rohini was with her. And then the Brahmins came over. And they said, they had come running too. And they said, you should bless Krishna now by giving charity. You should perform sacrifices just for Krishna's welfare. So Nanda Maharaj immediately did that. And then Balaram, who was waiting and letting the Brajbasis, he was smiling and waiting for the Brajbasis to get relief from all the anxiety and embrace Krishna to make sure he was all right and everything. Then Balaram came over and he was smiling and he sat down and he put Krishna on his lap, because he was just 6 years old when all this is going on. And he looked at his body to make sure that there was no harm to his body, and he smiled. And in a scolding way, slightly scolding way, Srila Sanatana Goswami said, look what you have done to the residents of Vrindavan by performing this pastime. Look what you put them through. He didn't say it quite like that, but a little more subtly. He said, look, you've done very well, Krishna, haven't you? And then Krishna went to Mother Yashoda, who before couldn't really express because there were too many people around. So she just took him and put him on her lap. And I think next. Yeah. Yasodapi Mahap, the greatly fortunate Yasoda Maya, Nastalabha Prajasati, who was completely changed. She took her son, having gotten him back from death. She thought he was gone, and now she got him back. And she, Pariswa Jang Anka means on her lap. She placed him on her lap, and Mumasharu Kalam Muha, she released an endless torrent of tears from her eyes. And sometimes those tears were hot, and sometimes they were cold. They were hot because her mind kept going back and forth from, oh, look what a condition he was in before. Just a few moments ago, enwrapped in the coils of that snake. And then when that remembrance would come, the tears pouring from her eyes would be hot with grief. And then she would think, and now he's safe. And I have him on my lap. And then cool tears of happiness would pour from her eyes. And then she'd think again, oh, what a relief. He's no longer in that difficult situation. Before he was held. Oh, mothers know this. And fathers too. Or friends. A dear friend. Or parents. Some difficulty. And then relief. And your mind goes back and forth and back and forth. And now it's finally okay. But oh, it was so difficult before. Haiti, you have to go right now because there's just one more part. It would take 10 minutes, I promise. Not more than 10 minutes.
Sorry.
No. Happy that you're staying. Before we were sorry, but now we're happy. Before I was so sorry, but now I'm so happy. And I was so sorry before, but now I'm so happy. But I was so sorry. You get the idea. Okay. So then they just took Yasoda. Maya had Krishna on her lap. And just crying. And then everyone was just looking at Krishna for hours and hours, and just talking about what had happened. Krishna did this, and his dancing was like this, and he was held in the snake, and this happened, and this happened. And then Nanda Maharaj saw that it was getting dark. And it was too late to go back to the town of Vrindavan. Now we need home. So he announced to everyone, now let's spend the night here. And there's a place in Vrindavan called Davanala Kund, where this next part of the pastime occurred. So, even though Krishna was hungry, they milked the cows, but they would not feed him any of that cow milk because they were afraid that it was contaminated by poison. Even though it had been gone, because that's how they thought. So it started getting dark, and they made circles around Krishna. In the middle was Krishna, sitting on the lap of Mother Yashoda, and then around Krishna, and at the same place was Nanda Maharaj, Krishna, Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, and all the mothers in the community were there with either their daughters or their daughter-in-laws to protect them. They were all surrounding Krishna. So that was one right in the center. Then around that, there was another circle of all the husbands of all those gopis of different ages, a second circle. Then a third circle around them was men, Bhujbasis, who had bows and arrows. Then around them, a fourth circle was all the calves and cows that were there. And then around them was a fifth circle, and Krishna was in the center of this, and it was all for Krishna's protection. The fifth circle was the powerful warriors of Vrindavan with their very powerful weapons. And half the night, not all the night, half the night, they just talked about Krishna and everything about Krishna and looked at Krishna, and gradually, some of them began to fall asleep. And then when some of them were asleep, one of those who fell asleep wasn't Krishna. And another one who wasn't asleep was Srimati Radharani. And all the other gopis, they weren't asleep. And Krishna, out of the corner of his eye, he looked at Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani, at the corner of her eye, because everyone is there, just looked at Krishna. And all the other gopis, they thought, just see that Krishna only has eyes for Radharani. Because this is again Purvaraj. Before he's pinching you, but what are you doing that's causing him to pinch you is the question you should be asking. You're like the criminal who's been put in prison, and they ask him, why are you in here after he's stolen 5,000 cars? And they ask him, why are you in prison? And his answer is, the judge sent me here. So, the night passed, and it was almost done. Oh. This I will read. Excuse me. Take a moment to breathe. Yes. Oh, you can even open the door for this one, for the breathing section. It's actually quite good to breathe every now and then.
Who's that?
Okay, stop breathing. So, okay. These are two. I need this one more thing. Oh. Okay, you ready? Yeah. The counter people up there, and we have. You're looking for the mic. You want this one? For you. We're going to make you sit over here next to Clark. Keep an eye on you. So, it disappeared again. There. Okay. So, in the middle of the night, everyone was so peaceful. But suddenly, one of the gopis cried out, "Look over there! There's a great fire coming!" And Kamsa actually had heard about this, that Krishna had chastised Kaliya and sent him away, and he was in so much anxiety, he sent his spies to light a fire. And it was the heat of the summer. And immediately the fire started raging. And it surrounded everyone. And Nanda Maharaj remembered that Gargamuni had said, whenever there's any difficulty, Anjan Yunjas Tarishyata, you go to your son. He will protect you. He will protect the community of cowherdmen. So there's two verses in prayers that he said that are also very relevant for us when we're in difficulty. Oops. Krishna. He called out Krishna's name twice. Krishna, Krishna, Mahabhaga, Hey Rama Mita Vikrama, oh Lord Ram, Balaram, you whose power is unlimited, Krishna, Krishna, oh most fortunate and opulent one, Esha Garatmano Vanis, this fire is coming near me, it is coming near, Tavakan Grasate Hina, we are yours, Tavakan, we are yours. We should not be destroyed. In other words, there's more to it than the simple part. But they were calling out Krishna, we are yours. They had forever given themselves to Krishna. And then in the next verse, this fire, Sudushtaram Naswanpahi, we are yours. We are Swanpahi. You have to protect us. We have no one else but you. Kalagni Surida Prabhu. We are Surid means so near to the heart. We keep you so near to our hearts. And this fire is blazing. Oh Prabhu, na sapnumas tvat sharanam. And here's the sweet amidst the fire, that they said, we are incapable of giving up your lotus feet. Shantya kum akutaobayam. Because those lotus feet drive away all fear. So, their thought was that we don't fear anything in this world, but if this fire devours us, we will be separated from you, from your lotus feet. And that is intolerable for us. That was the highest level of realization of a prayer like that. We cannot tolerate being separated from your lotus feet. So please save us. And Krishna, there's different versions of what happened. But Krishna then immediately, practically speaking, it disappeared. It was gone. And Srila Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they both concur that Krishna didn't exactly swallow the fire, but it looked just like he swallowed the fire, because they cannot tolerate thinking that Krishna's going to have it. He should be eating laddus and samosas and sweet rice from Govardhan Hill, and he should be having butter, but fire? That would cause him inconvenience? Pain? No. This cannot happen. So some acharyas say that Krishna's Shakti, his potency of destroying the world, came and just went whoosh, and it was gone. Or it was just gone. And then suddenly the Vrishvasis looked around and there was no fire. They thought, were we dreaming? There was a fire here, now there's nothing. So then they got up and singing and dancing, Krishna and the cowherd boys with the cows and all the residents of Vrindavan made their way back to the town of Vrindavan. And on the way, Balaram grabbed Krishna and threw him in the waters of the Yamuna, and they just played with all the cowherd boys in there and the cows in there. They just laughed and played, and they got back to Vrindavan, the town of Vrindavan, and all the food that they had cooked for Balaram to celebrate his birthday the day before, it was all perfectly preserved. So they had a big feast. And that ends this pastime. That one. No one used to clap during Prabhupada's time. Somehow we survived. See, yeah, now it's... You look like a Vrindavan rabbit. Okay, Hare Krishna. You've been so good to hear, because without hearers, they can't be, the speakers don't have anything to do. And it's so nice to speak to devotees who are eager to hear. So thank you so much. You're very kind to have listened. We have a few minutes. If anyone has any questions or comments. Yes, Aniruddha.
What about the fact that Kaliya had association with Garuda, and that his wives were also devotees?
Yes. Which?
But that had some influence on the fact that she was in Vrindavan and eventually got Krishna's mercy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So whilst he had no qualification, he had the, what should we say, the blessings, not the blessings, but he had his association with the
Well, his association with the Yamuna, which you didn't mention, was that he polluted it. His association with Garuda was that he stole the offerings meant for Garuda, and Garuda was trying to kill him. And the association with his wives was that he was stopping them from going to serving Krishna. And they were happy if Krishna was going to kill him until he surrendered. So therefore, looking at it from that point of view, and Kamsa also had association with Krishna, but it didn't do him very much. Ultimately, it didn't good, but it was pratikul, it wasn't anukul, unfavorable. So our acharyas say that ultimately the actual reason was it was Krishna's causeless mercy, because when you add up those elements and consider that Lakshmi Devi, who had so much qualification, couldn't attain what he attained, they say it was only Krishna and his causeless mercy. There was no adhikara, there was no qualification on his part. Is that okay? So, and looking at it from that point of view is more hope-giving. Too, because at least for me, looking at my qualifications that are not there, only sarvajati human yoga. So we depend on Krishna's causeless mercy. And he's causelessly merciful. That's our hope. But we try to act in a way, not as Kaliya acted, which was always against. So we try to act in a way that attracts Krishna's causeless mercy. In philosophy, there's a term necessary but not insufficient. So our attracting Krishna's acting in such a way, trying to act in such a way that Krishna sees us as our part. But it is necessary, practically speaking, for us to do that, but it's not sufficient to force Krishna's causeless mercy to descend upon us. But we do our part in the relationship, which is act in such a way that will attract Krishna's causeless mercy, try to act in such a way that he and the Vaishnavas are pleased. Questions? Yeah. Does that rabbit have a question, or is it playing with the screen? Huh? You have any questions, my dear rabbit? What's another word for a rabbit? Huh? Funny? What's another word for a rabbit? A Hare. Yeah, Hare. No, it's a Hare. A Hare. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. A little bit louder because there's conflicting sound vibrations coming from the outside. Loudly, please.
In the course of the pastime, Lord Balaram had confidence that Krishna will be heard. But in the beginning we heard that Lord Balaram had to stay back at home. Otherwise he would have stopped Krishna from jumping into the river.
That's one of the reasons he had to stay at home. Another reason, it was his birthday. Yes.
I once heard, I think you once previously mentioned that Krishna chose this specific day to tackle Kaliya because it was Balaram's birthday. But my question was more around if Lord Balaram knew about Krishna's powers and potency, then he was not concerned. Why would he have stopped Krishna from jumping into the river?
Because there's two different levels. It's like if Bill Gates' mother is there and she sees him working, she's going to worry, are you getting enough to eat? Have you been eating enough? Are you getting this and getting that? Of course, he can feed himself. He's a grown man and he's quite wealthy as well. She knows his power, but her relationship is one of love. So the quality of love, it cares for the beloved, it's anxiety about the beloved as well. So when rasa and tattva mix in the Brijvasis, rasa always wins. It always overpowers tattva. And therefore Yashoda Maya's love is considered not equal, but much greater than the love of Devaki, for example, who when confronted with Krishna being the Supreme Lord, her love diminishes. But the Brijvasis, their love never diminishes. So that's one answer. So Balaram, from the rasa point of view, would have stopped him from that point of view. But another answer is Krishna would be okay, but it was very difficult for him to tolerate the suffering of the Brijvasis. And that's what was specifically disturbing to him. So the fact that Krishna would be okay doesn't stop the Brijvasis from suffering, because even though they know he's the Supreme Lord in so many ways, their rasa, feeling of rasa is so loving relationship is so overpowering that it easily overpowers that. So that's another reason why Balaram would stop him.
Now that Kaliya and his families are devotees, but then Krishna still asked them to leave Vrindavan. So was it, how did they feel? As if like it must be very hard because now Krishna is telling them to leave Vrindavan.
Well, how would you feel? Okay, that's from their point of view, but they were obedient, and they happily left because Krishna almost killed him right before that, and they said, oh, we'll do whatever you want, and he said, leave, and what could they do? They left. But that's from their point of view, they left. But also, Krishna gave them a facility to come back every now and then. Right? Okay. But from your point of view, have you ever bathed in the Yamuna? How would you feel like bathing in the Yamuna if there was this huge black poisonous snake there? So to give facility to you, even if the snake was wearing tilak. You know, that famous joke that's told in every religion about the lion who's chasing, and the person prays and he becomes a devotee, and then when the lion, when he finally becomes a devotee, he gets hit by, you know that joke, yeah? Yes?
No.
Oh, yes, you do. There's a devotee in a forest and he's running. You know it, yes? He's running, and suddenly he notices a lion is chasing him, and he becomes terrified. And he runs faster, but the lion can run even faster. And by the way, this joke appears in every religion, but in different forms. So the lion is almost on him, chasing him. Hungry lion roaring, chasing him. So he starts to pray. Oh, Krishna, Krishna, please make this lion into a devotee. And suddenly a bolt of light comes and it hits the lion right in the head. And the lion falls to the ground and stands up. And the devotee is looking at him. And the lion looks right at him, folds his hands, and says, "Sorry, Ra Vidyaja." You can have it. It's yours. You knew that joke before?
What's that?
So even if Kaliya had tilak, he'd be frightened. Any other questions? Yes, was that? Sorry.
We find that in the pastime of Aghasura, Krishna did want the boys to enter into the mouth of the serpent. And in this pastime, we said that Krishna allowed the boys to drink the water. I mean, Krishna knows he can bring them back to life, but still, Krishna can't. How can Krishna desire his friends to drink the poisoned water?
He didn't desire it, he allowed it. See, what rules in Vrindavan, and he wanted to see the love expressed by his devotees, that's also described. He wanted to see the expressions of their love. And were you ever in a difficult situation, and then someone came and saved you, pulled you out of that difficult situation, and completely saved you and protected you? Were you ever in such a situation? Okay. So how do you feel about that person? Naturally, your heart swells and you feel so much increased affection for that person. So Krishna wanted to increase the affection of the devotees as he did in the Aghasura pastime. But he wanted to increase their affection for him. We've been saved by Krishna. There's such a wonderful feeling to being saved by Krishna, knowing that Krishna saved you.
But then in the pastime of Aghasura, Krishna did want the boys.
But remember, he does what he wants. It's all playing. He wants to do that, and he has many things to accomplish with one attempt too. So he wanted to chase. He allowed it to go on because Krishna didn't want to send Kaliya out of Vrindavan, but he had to send him out of Vrindavan. Unless he was angry, he couldn't send him out of Vrindavan. So he let the boys drink the water so he could become angry, so he would send Kaliya out of Vrindavan so Prabhu could bathe there. So Krishna does many things with one action. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, he also he knew that you shouldn't send anyone out of Vrindavan. The Samacharyas say that he wanted to expose to everyone
how wicked
the magnitude of Kaliya's destructive powers, that he could even pollute the water to such a degree that these boys would all find cows would die.
Yeah.
So that before he would exhibit this act that you should never do, of sending someone out of Vrindavan, he would display why he was sending this particular person. He'd been there for a very, very, very long time. he wasn't a newcomer, but he was going to ask him to leave.
Yes. They wanted the wives too to see, in the same vein, how wicked he was, that he actually just bit Krishna, and he was trying to kill him and squeeze him for such a long time. So he wanted, so there's actually one line in one of the slokas in this, that he was imitating the ways of ordinary people who need a reason to understand why Kaliya had to be sent out and punished, because he was very, very wicked. So that was also explained. Do you want to add anything else? Let me just wait one second. See, a lot of things, not a lot, all the things that happen in Vrindavan are not by Krishna's will exactly, but we can't understand what it's like being Krishna, and what he understands and what he doesn't understand, and what he knows and doesn't know, because he has his consciousness, he's Krishna. So we can't measure him by our consciousness. But Krishna likes these pastimes, and Yogamaya facilitates the pastimes, and the devotees want to experience, they want to swim in this, taste this ocean of rasa. They want to, not that they want that, they want to interact with Krishna. So, and increase the prema of the devotees. So Krishna performs pastimes, what he does always increases the love of the devotees for him, and the intimacy of the relationship, and the feeling that he is ours. He is ours and we are his. And so it doesn't always follow the logic, because neither Krishna or the Brijvasis nor the land of Vrindavan follows what rules it is the prema of the devotees. So it doesn't always fit neatly into the logical boxes that we have in our consciousness that we'd like everything to fit into. Yes, there are other questions.
There was one part where the Nagapatnis were praying and asking how can they give up their snake-like tendencies.
No, that was Kaliya who was praying.
So how could he give those up? Then would it be okay to assume that by following Krishna's instructions he was able to give it up?
He was already had given it up, because Krishna had his way of making him renounce it. He had crushed him, kicked him in 1,000 ways, until, and he was, all the poison and contamination was being vomited and thrown out, and he had become simple in heart and ready to give himself fully to Krishna. There's a simplicity of heart that devotees have, not simplicity in a negative sense, simple-minded, but in their relationship with Krishna, they're sharla, which means simple in heart, like the cowherd boys. Oh, Krishna will protect us when they walked into Agasura. Krishna will protect us. Their relationship was suited very thick. I keep thinking your ears in the air are your raised hands, but they're not. That's your rabbit ears. There's a question over here. Yes, go.
We have seen in other pastimes of Krishna fighting with lot of demons, that he has killed each of the demons. But why not Kaliya? He has spared Kaliya just because Narpati did it, or was there any other reason?
Causeless mercy. And he changed. He's a little patient. Kaliya had changed. He surrendered. Like Vatsasura, Krishna killed Vatsasura to the very end. He was inimical. Bakasura, inimical to the very end. Agasura, but Kaliya surrendered. And that was the cause of the Nagapatni's prayer. But Krishna ultimately, he's not like Kunti Devi, who in the first canto, what chapter of the Bhagavatam? Kunti Devi's prayers? 8th chapter. She prayed for Krishna to not leave. What city? Hastinapur. But what did Krishna do? He left. So he's not obliged to follow what his devotees request him to do because he has his own plan. He's the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Kaliya had surrendered, the Nagapatnis had prayed, but still his mercy on Kaliya was considered causeless. That means it's springing from his own self. That's what we mean by causes. Nothing external can force him to do anything. He's Swatanta. It's okay.
Kaliya was in a different category. As Krishna Rupa was saying, he wasn't sent by Kamsa. In fact, he was a resident of Vrindavan. So Krishna didn't want to kill him, he just wanted him to leave. He hadn't intentionally attacked Krishna. Only when Krishna came into his place, then he attacked him.
Quite intentionally.
Quite intentionally, but
you have come into my lake and disturbing me in my lake. You deserve to die. He was envious.
But the others came into Vrindavan.
Yes. But Aristasura lived in Vrindavan. He stayed there a long time, actually, in that place. And it's actually described how Aristasura caused, because of Aristasura's presence, read this, I can't remember exactly where, but one of our acharyas commented, because of Aristasura's presence, they abandoned Nandagam. But yes, I mean, all good reasons. Yes?
Thank you very much for that. This is the two pastors, this is the Rasura pastor.
A little louder, please, and open some doors and windows or the ceiling. Either one.
The two pastors of Rasura and Kaliya, Krishna is very merciful because in both the pastor and both the demons gave a lot of pleasure to Krishna. In the Akasura pastor is mentioned that they entered the caves to play. And in Kaliya, Krishna allowed Krishna to dance. So he gave pleasure to him. But as Nagapati mentioned, what was his adhikar? Like he said in previous background of Kaliya, getting the mercy, very special mercy of getting the lotus feet of Krishna on his head. Is there a previous background?
There is a previous background, but I don't remember it. But the point that we want to pull out of this is Krishna's causeless mercy. That's the point that I think that Sanatana Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami makes in this. That we should look at it in that way. Even you look at so many of the demons that Krishna killed in Vrindavan, they had previous in where is it? Upanishad. God. What's the Upanishad? Huh? Bhagavatam probably. Yeah, Bhagavatam. Or Gopal Tapani, but Bhagavatam, I think. What describes the previous lives of a lot of these demons, because it's greatest fortune to be killed by Krishna too. So there was something in there, but ultimately it's Krishna's causeless mercy. Why don't you come sit here? That way I can pat you on the head more frequently. Oh, very good, very good. You want to say something? I'm sure. Next question you can answer, okay? Is that all right? Krishna's causes mercy. Krishna's causes mercy. Krishna's causes mercy. That's what we are praying for, right? Do we pray and say, I have so much piety in my background? Or do we think that because of my great piety, I came in contact with with Radha Vallabha and the devotees, or Prabhupada's mercy because of my great piety. No, we want to think that doesn't really help, even though there may be some truth in that there was something that attracted us. But the real point that we want to think is that, how have I received this mercy? Let me take advantage of it as Krishna's causes mercy. We want to see the generosity of Krishna. Any other? Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful class. Do we need to go through this Kaliya experience for the complete surrender, or is there another way out?
Who do you mean by we?
Me. I'll frame it for me.
Do you need to go through it? Let me ask you a question. Do you need to go through it?
Me, what I'm trying to ask is similar, like, do we have to, do I have to be completely put into miserable position, or
before you surrender?
Before you
okay,
surrender.
Let me ask you a question. Do you need to be put into a miserable condition before you surrender? Okay, there's your answer. The free will of a living entity is certainly present. This is the point, right? That we hear from Kaliya about Kaliya. I don't want to go through that. I might as well put my hands up right now. Put away the gun. But the putting away the gun mood doesn't evoke love from us. It's just the desire to avoid suffering. So what we really need is to develop an attraction for Krishna. And then the surrender to Krishna comes automatically. The giving ourselves to Krishna comes automatically. The more we become attracted to Him, the more we hear about Him, His qualities, the more we associate, the more we serve. Oh, you were supposed to answer this one, I forgot. Follow what I mean? So if you don't need it, you're so fortunate. But sometimes at different times of our life, we need a little polite pushing from behind. Sometimes that's what I've experienced. That Krishna wants a little more than we're ready to give to Him. Because after all, the time, I hate always to bring it back to the point of, that heavy D word, death. But then, what choices do we have, really? But ultimately, and we've seen this with so many devotees, ultimately, Krishna is kind. So many devotees who did service in Prabhupada love, for example, and not only Prabhupada's direct disciples, but the devotees in the movement. And when it was time to go, Krishna didn't forget. He doesn't pull out a sheet and say, this is good. This, I'll try. No, sorry. I saw everything. He's not like that. He's Bhava Grahi Janardana. And at the end of Sri Bhakti Sandalva, the verse says this, and it says it, we also read it here, that Krishna, he and Śrīmati Radharani, they cried tears of compassion to see the suffering of living entities. So he's very, very, very kind, and it's the kindness that attracts the gratitude that we feel for His kindness. When you think of causeless mercy, then naturally gratitude appears in the heart. When you think of the piety that I've done, then it's just, it's proper that He's merciful to me. But when you think of causeless mercy, then gratitude comes to the heart. How can I repay such a person? and then we become devotees. Let me do something for him. Then we become devotees.
Can it be that sometimes in the back of the mind, along with the idea of causeless mercy, it means there's nothing I can do to get it. It comes when Krishna wills to. That it's a little bit risky, like you might not feel in the mood to give it. And so therefore, if I get the criterion clear, 1, 2, 3, 4, I should do these things. I do these things, then I know I'll get it. But causeless mercy is a little bit, has a negative connotation as well. Can that be?
Why does it have a negative let's examine why it has a negative connotation. It has a negative connotation is because that makes us dependent on him. And that is terrifying for a conditioned soul, to be dependent on another. Because we talked about this before. Because the experience in the material world is you become dependent on someone, especially if you don't have the good experiences with parents, with teachers, with priests and government leaders, that naturally, when they're performing their function in a proper way, then naturally what's built into the psyche is not a fear of authority and being taken care of, but a trust. So in Kali Yuga, this is one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, and it's increasing more and more and more and more and more, that people don't trust. And again, they only trust themselves, who've proved their minds, which have proved more untrustworthy. So, yes, that's why. So life is meant really for developing that kind of trust in relationship with Krishna. Like the cowherd boys, they say, Krishna protected us from Bakasura. Krishna protected us, so of course he's going to protect us again. And Gargamuni said, so in devotional life, it's so important to do some service, some responsibility. I'm just reading that in Yamuna's Mataji, the book about Yamuna Mataji, where she talks about taking responsibility, or actually Carr was talking about it. Taking responsibility, because when you take responsibility and you try to do something for Krishna, and then the pressure comes on you, and then all the doubts come to the surface, and then by doing that, trying to do something for Krishna, that you're not getting anything out of it, you're just doing it for Krishna's pleasure, at least, mostly at least, because he sees the good, then you see the hand of Krishna touching you 1,000 times, and therefore those are the jewels of your experience. Become your real wealth of life. But it won't happen unless you try to do it. It can happen because it's causeless mercy. It describes in the Bhaktivedanta Sindhu Nectar of Devotion that even the demons in fighting would trust that Krishna would be fair. You remember that section? So, I mean, you could go around the room, even here and now, which we probably won't do right now because it's a different type of and ask the devotees why they're here. What is the root of their faith in Krishna? And of course, there's maybe doubts in there and everything, but why are you here? Why do you trust more than you don't trust? Or even if you distrust more than you trust, why are you here? And what is the root of your faith? Is it Shastra, as it should be? Or is it that Krishna's touched you? Or some devotee has touched you? Or it's good to sometimes count your wealth. Because sometimes the mind just looks at the doubts. And when we talk about doubts, it's usually because I wanted this to happen and Krishna didn't know what was best for me, like I know what's best for me. try to imagine what it would feel if someone poured a glass of water on your head. It's happened before. Not by me though.
It's like me.
You like it?
Kind of.
Okay, tell about me. No, it's been so much fun playing with your part the whole time. But sometimes, and it's amazing. How old are you now? 8?
9.
9, okay. But you can, for hours and hours, you've been talking for hours and hours and hours, and you've been sitting here. So it's not surprising, and also the other young men and the rabbit in the back, and others, that towards the end you start getting restless and wanting a little more attention. So we see that how good you've been the whole time. Very good. Put your hand down. Prabhupada said the more you chastise a child, the better he becomes. Put your hand down. So we put your hand. Huh?
Yesterday you asked me a question. I got the answer to it.
Okay. What was? I can't even remember. Again, tell me.
Why do you get angry?
Why do you get angry?
Because my sister.
It's all her fault, yeah? You sound like me now. You forced me to become angry. It's all your fault. Good thing your head was down when I was teasing over there. Where is your sister? Who knows? Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Very happy to see you. How are you doing in school? Okay. You've made the adjustment okay?
Yeah.
Any other questions? We'll call on those who haven't.
It was Krishna's original form when he appeared here. It was all spiritual, right? How it was all Krishna's original form and it was all spiritual. There was no material thing in that.
Yes.
How it was visible to, even to demonic, because you need to have divine eyes to see it, right? And if we
How did Arjuna see the universal form? Krishna gave him the divine eyes to see him, the eyes to see him, yes? Divya chakshus. So how could someone see Krishna? Even Kamsa. How? Go ahead. Go answer the question and then you can go ahead with the rest.
what I want to say is that it was his most beautiful form. How it didn't change the consciousness of...
They couldn't see it like that because their consciousness wasn't right. Kaliya didn't see Krishna as he was. He became angry when he saw him rather than captivated by the incredible beauty of his form. Do you remember any of the aspects of the beautiful form of Krishna that Kaliya saw? Does anyone remember any? Raise your hand if you remember one. Yes.
Pinkish lotus feet.
Pinkish lotus feet. Delicate. What's the word for delicate? Sukumar. Prakshaniya. So attractive. And he was wearing... Huh? Yellow. Pita Vasam. So he saw Krishna looking so... And he also saw his... What was the one we just forgot? We forgot in the midst of that. Yes, thank you. His beautiful smile. He saw Krishna. And actually, I saw you say that Sukadeva, in describing this, adopted the mood of the Brajavasis. This is what the Brajavasis saw. So captivated by his beauty. Even Lakshmi Devi is attracted by the beauty of Krishna in Vrindavan. But when Kaliya saw it, he became more angry and furious. He bit him. That was his reaction. So why did Krishna allow that? Because he wants to display pastimes out of his kindness so that we have something to talk about rather than who's winning cricket. Who is winning cricket, by the way? I also I answer your question?
Kind of.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
But
Yeah, but
if you see Krishna, like consciousness should, I know it was the consciousness was bad, but why did not transfer? Like why did not change to good consciousness?
whose fault is that it didn't change? When you go in front of Radha Ballabha, are you seeing Krishna? Huh?
In Radha Vallabha.
Excuse me?
In Radha Vallabha. That's where I see. That's what I see.
You see, but do you really see Krishna? Do you understand what unlimited beauty is? Well, he possesses unlimited beauty. And you're seeing as much as your Krishna's reciprocation with your consciousness. So you're seeing something. Are you seeing unlimited beauty? Are you like Mahaprabhu when he saw Lord Jagannath? He went running towards him. Nityananda Prabhu. Also, Mahaprabhu fainted because his consciousness allowed him to see fully Krishna. So why doesn't, you're seeing Radha Vallabha, do you see Radha Vallabha? Well, we see something of it. Radha Vallabha allows us to see something. Does that answer your question more, or is there another but? It's okay, but do you have any more to ask on this? And then another question would be, why doesn't Krishna immediately just reveal? He can do it, he really can do it. He can really reveal his full beauty to you. Completely. In his holy names, his deity form in the Bhagavatam. Why doesn't he do it? And how I would answer that question is, why don't you mind your own business? And why don't you play your part? And don't tell him, who, in the words of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the transcendental autocrat, how he should manage existence. I don't mean to put it harshly or anything like that, but we all have this tendency, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you do it this way? I have a better idea. Why don't you just, if you would just show all living entities your transcendental beauty, then no one would be, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do that. But we should mostly keep our mind on what our part of the relationship is. So how should I approach Krishna? In what consciousness should I approach Krishna so that he tends, he'll be inclined, he'll tend to be a little extra merciful to me. That's our business, so to speak, if you know what I mean. That's our part of the relationship. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? So next time you go to see Radha Vallabha, then think, what is the best consciousness that I can be in right now that will be pleasing to Krishna, that will make him inclined? And there's the key right there. How to please you, Krishna. That's the part that allows Krishna, if he so desires, to give you some special mercy. That will not, how can I compete with you, Krishna, or bite you because you've entered my lake? Do you follow what I mean? Any more questions on this?
So, speaking about it's more like surrendering to Krishna, right? But when you're praying, even though in your head you're thinking, I want to surrender to Krishna, but there is always a backup plan. As you said, we tell Krishna what to do.
We used to call that, when the brahmacharis kept money, we used to call it a bloop fund, just in case. That was a long time ago. Now the brahmacharis always surrender. Are you one of the brahmacharis? Not yet. Oh. Krishna heard that, by the way. What would your mother say? You asked me tricky questions. No, I asked you tricky questions. Go ahead.
How do you not make that backup plan in your head while you pray?
You can't avoid that right now because it's giving yourself to Krishna isn't a mental, intellectual adjustment. You can't do it by your intelligence. From now on, I've tried it so much, from now on I'm only going to listen to every Mahamantra that I chant. From now on, when I approach Krishna, Radha Vallabha, I'm not going to have my mind distracted. From now on, I'm not going to become angry. From now on this, and from now on that, and from now on. But Kaliya is telling us something, other thing, that we have our natures, conditioned natures, and that we need some mercy to be able to surrender to Krishna more fully. And remember that Kaliya, Krishna kept dancing on Kaliya to deepen his surrender. So it's not like you surrender and it's done with. Or I have faith and then I go move on to the next stage of Bhajan Kriya. No, you could say that faith increases up to the point of prema. They have the full faith. You could even say that the residents of Vrindavan or the Braja Gopis are the only ones who have real faith. You can even state it like that. Because Krishna is they don't even think about themselves. In that sense, they merge with Krishna, in thoughts of Krishna. So you have something, you have some wealth, some jewels. So just understand what the good next step for you is. Does that answer your question more? Or you have more? Go ahead. We have all day. No, we don't have all day. We have to take prasadam.
So, in other way, we don't really have to have intelligence to develop love for Krishna. Like, gopis didn't go through all the Vedas and everything.
Yes. Tam satam brahma sukhana bhutyan sakanam paradare paratena maya sritananam narapangamena sakyam vicharu krita punya punya. Births after births, many births of piety. Prahlad Maharaj, I heard Prabhupada recently say, that fixedness of mind came from many, that undivided mind came from many births. So that is to not be an intellectual adjustment and still love Krishna is purity. But that's not to say we shouldn't use our intelligence. Otherwise, why are all these shastras there? Intelligence is the next door neighbor of the super soul. You should use whatever intelligence Krishna gives you. You should use it. You should see the world with your intelligence, not with your mind. But when you have love for Krishna, then it's not going to be a product of your intelligence. It's going to be deeper from you, the soul. Any more questions? Sorry, Rob, you did your job. Go take the sun.